Hi, thank you for tuning in. In this video, we're going to go over the different parts of the slit lamp. I am going to try my very best to be as detailed as I can and share as much information as I can. Towards the end of the video, stay tuned. I will leave this same picture that you see now towards the end of the video so you can quiz yourself to see how much do you know as it relates to the different parts of the slit lamp. And once you're done, you can share in the comments how you did. We use this slit lamp to check for eye pressure angles, and we also check the eyes to make sure there's nothing abnormal going on. Depending on if the patient is too tall or too short, I adjust this area here. Every one of these is different in every room and every practice that you go to. Some of them you can adjust it from the side, adjust it from here. You can tighten it here. Everyone is very different. This one particular, you can raise the chair with this button, but you also can raise it from over here. Let's say I had a tall patient and I need to lift it up. You just lift it up like that, and you do the same thing down. You want to be careful because sometimes some of them are heavy and you don't want to do it over the patient a lot. It's best to adjust this first a little before you put it in front of them. So I already got everything going into the different parts so you can get a clear idea of how it works. So I'll start with the light source. For this particular slit lamp, you see the buttons on the side. I'm gonna press the button in and lift up. And you see how the light went out also? It's kind of like the battery source of like where you see in different electronics. You know, you see the inside of it is pressing against the top portion of that light source to turn it on. And then the sides here, if you look inside on the sides and you look on the sides right here and here, you notice that it's locking this cover in place. You don't necessarily have to press the parts to get down on it, but yeah, you just gotta make sure it's positioned on those sides that press in so that it can lock back in place. I do want to add that this is also where you can change the light bulb out. You can actually pull the light bulb out and replace it. But before you do this, you want to make sure that the slit lamp has been off for a while and give it time to cool down. All right, so at this point in the video, you will notice that I'm working my way down and I'm actually going to turn this black dial. This dial is basically used to control the brightness of the light source. This is not to turn the light source on or off. This is basically to control the amount of brightness. As you can see, the number 1, half, and 0 is telling you how much of the brightness is coming from the light source. But I am going to turn the slit lamp table and I will show you the area where you will actually turn the light source on or off. This area does not control the amount of brightness coming from the light source. It turns it on and off. This is one area, and there's a second area I will later show you. The on and off for the light source here. So you see SL, which stands for slit lamp. You can press it here, and as you can hear the sound, it turned off the slit lamp. And this is basically controlling the whole thing. You can either turn it on from here, on or off from here. You can also turn it on and off from here. And then I'll show you how it is. So that is on, as you can see, because the green light is on. And you see here, it turns on. And I'll keep this on. I'll go back to the headboard. See the green light is on, and I'll turn it off. And I'll come back, and you notice that the light is off. So if you notice that you're turning the knob and the light is not coming on, then possibly you probably need to turn it on from that source here or from the side of it if your slit lamp have the on and off button for the side. Okay, so I paused the video for a second to point out the fact that This slit lamp in this portion of the video is different from the slit lamp that I use in the first beginning of the video. As you can tell by the arm and the different buttons that are on the side. This just comes to show that every slit lamp is different. But as you can see, I still have this on. Turn it off, turn it on, and then I'll go back over here. We've already turned it on from there, and I'm going to do it from here. I press the button once. You hear that it's turned on, and then you'll also see here the green light is on here. And once I come around to the front, you'll see that the light is on here, and I'm gonna turn it off here again. And I'll go back here, turn it off by pressing the button. And then I'll go back here, you'll notice that it's off. All right, so the actual system has to be on in order for you to control the light. So next up on the photo was the vertical light control, which is this dial here. The vertical light control is used to control the height of the light beam that's going on the surface of the patient eye. This can also be used to change the light filter from white light to blue light, depending on what you need it for. The display above, you can use that as a reference point to check for the measurements of the height, as well as to see if you're on the blue light. Now on the picture, they did not mention anything about this area here. This is also another area for the light filters. This filter area can change the brightness of the light, and it also can give you the option to change to green light, which is a red-free light. As I mentioned before, every slit lamp is different. On some of the slit lamps, they do have a blue light filter that is placed here. But you will notice here on this particular slit lamp, there's a green light filter, which is here. In most cases, they use the green light filter when they're looking in the back of the eye at the retina to get a better view, because it darkens certain areas so that you can see better. So I think it blocks the red light from the wavelength of the light. And you would just have to do more research as it relates to it, because I'm not the person to go in full detail about how it works, but that's just the basics of it. As a technician, chances are you're not going to be using the green light. In most cases, we use the blue light. This is your forehead rest here. When the patient is inside of the slit lamp, you want to make sure the front of the forehead is touching the center portion of this forehead rest here and pressing against it. And I'm not sure if the canthus line was mentioned on the pictures, but you want to make sure the canthus of the patient eye is lined up with this canthus line. The canthus of the patient eye is like the inner portion of the eye where the lower and upper lid meet. So you want to make sure that is lined up, and you want to make sure the patient forehead is touching that forehead rest. And here is the chin rest. You want to make sure the patient chin is directly inside of the chin rest, not sitting on top of the arc, but inside of this chin rest, kind of like a puzzle. If you notice these silver inserts here, this insert is where paper lining go. This particular slit lamp don't have any. I don't even think a lot of practices don't use them. But basically, it's just a block of paper that goes here. After each patient, you'll take it off. In order to replace them, you actually can take these inserts out. These are pretty, they are in really tight, so I can't really take it off. But you would just take them off. You'll place the paper linings on top of the holes, lining the holes up. You'll take these inserts and place them back inside. In order to move this chin rest up and down, there's a knob right here. And if you twist it, it controls where it goes, either up or down. So you have your ocular here. And with these, you want to make sure you reset it to 0 for the next person that possibly could be using the slit lamp. If you notice here, these are ways to adjust the prescription of the lenses side so that you can see better in the event that you don't have on glasses or contacts, which is your visual correction. You can actually put your prescription in here, and you notice that the minus sign is here, and you also have plus prescription on this side, and you would just twist these. You can put it to your settings. So right now it is set on 0, and you'll do the same thing for this eye as well. So those are your oculars. You can change the prescription on the ocular here, but you also can magnify what you see right here as well. That those numbers here can show you the amount of magnification that you can see when viewing through the oculars. Next up was the horizontal light control. So I've already showed you the vertical light control here. Now we're gonna move right along to the horizontal light control, which is this dial here. You can twist it back forward, or you can twist it away from you. You can see measurements on the side here, and it goes in just a full circle, and it basically controls the width of the light source. So you have your vertical light control, which is here, and you have your horizontal light control, which is here. Next on the list was the articulating arm light. As you can see, I have my fingers here on the horizontal light control to control the articulating arm light. You can basically control the position of where the light source is going. So you can either pull it towards the left, or you can pull it towards the right, and it changes the position of the light. So let's say you're working on either the left eye or you're working on the right eye, and you just want to change the position of it. You would do that using the articulating arm light. And this is another thing that wasn't mentioned in the photo, which is this knob here. You can control the tension of the articulating arm light from here. So if you twist it right, it tightens the tension of the articulating arm light. It still can move, but the tension is going to be tight, so it's a little bit tighter. So far we have discussed the vertical light control as well as the blue light filter. This is another area for the filter. We've also went over the forehead rest, the canthus line, the chin rest, and we've also went over the articulating arm light, the knobs for adjusting the tension. We've also went over the articulating arm ocular. Now I am going to move into showing you the slit lamp lock, which is this. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty loosey. So I'm twisting towards my left, and this loosens the slit lamp. You know, you don't want to twist it too much, because basically if you do that, you can, the more you twist it, you can take that knob off. All right, so I'm gonna lock this back in place. You want to just do it enough to loosen it. So I'm gonna tighten this back up. You can't move the base. This is the base here. You can't move it when it's locked, so you want to twist it towards the left to loosen it, and now you can move the base. Okay, you can move it side by side. You can move it forward. You can move it backwards. I'm gonna go ahead and lock this back in place. Now, something that I've just noticed that also was not mentioned in the picture are these handles here. These handles is placed here for the patient, so they can hold on to these handles when sitting inside of the slit lamp. They do have the option to hold on to the handle to stay in place. And while I am on this topic of discussion, I want to share something with you that is possibly something that you can run into. Sometimes you do have patients that come in with a bigger chest or bigger stomachs, and it's a lot more difficult for them to properly position their heads on the forehead rest and chin and the chin rest comfortably. For these patients, what you want to do is lift their chair up high, have them to come forward in the seat and lean forward, and that should solve that problem. Another problem you may run into is short patients. What you can do is, if the patient is able to stand up, have them to stand up and then have them to place their chin inside and check the pressure and angles from there. I want to go over one last thing with the joystick. When you twist the joystick left and right, it changes the position as far as it going up or down. But this joystick is also used for fine focusing, to where you're not making a exaggerated movement compared to when you move the whole base. So you do have this option for fine focusing with the joystick. That pretty much wrap up the video. Stick around and go ahead and test your knowledge out to see what parts can you remember off the slit lamp. And once you're done, don't forget to share in the comments how you did. Thank you for tuning in.